Minecraft has many hostile creatures. All of them have their own strengths and weaknesses. Some are easier to deal with than others, and some, in the right circumstances, can become very hard very quickly. But surely there's one that stands out among the rest, right? Well, after many hours of wasting my youth away and neglecting my social life from various Minecraft wikis and guides, I've done the research so that you don't have to. I've determined what I believe to be Minecraft's strongest mob. Make sure you watch through the whole video so that when we discuss which mob is actually strongest, you can better understand how I got to that conclusion. Also, YouTube statistics show that only a small percentage of people that watch my videos are actually subscribed. Mainly because I don't actually have any subscribers, so to help a brother out. Such a dumb joke. I'm not keeping that in, I can't. So the only fair way I could think about doing this is to just go through every mob in Minecraft and rank them based on various factors and just discuss any outliers. I'm not going to go through every mob individually just because it would take far too long and would be very boring. So we're only going to discuss the top contenders and why they're so powerful. First up, the skeleton. This mob is easily one of the strongest mobs in the early game. It's the cause of numerous deaths. We've all been sat there trying to craft something in the middle of the night, only to be shot by a flurry of arrows and desperately trying to get up some sort of structure to keep us alive. They've got a huge range advantage and are very accurate, especially in comparison to something like witches that cause splash damage. They aren't really very accurate and don't have a long range. They've got 20 hit points of health, 10 hearts, which is fairly high for the early game. They do about 1 to 2.5 hearts on easy and normal mode. These guys are deadly, especially if you don't have any armor. New players will 100% have a bad time with these guys. They're definitely not the strongest mob, but in the early game, they're a big problem. Next up is the Pillager. These guys have 24 hit points or 12 hearts. They can spawn during the day and during the night, and they've got incredible maneuverability. Because of that, they're very hard to de-aggro and run away from. Oftentimes there's more than one, and they only do about 2 hearts of damage, but because there's more than one, and with the increased movement speed, they can become a problem very quickly. You better watch out if you're near an outpost. Next, the Iron Golem. With 100 hit points, 50 hearts, it's the second highest hitting mob in the game. The first is the Giant, which we're not going to include because it doesn't spawn naturally. It does anywhere from 3.5 to 10.5 hearts per hit. It's got fairly low movement speed, which is why it's not at the top spot, but these are deadly. Unless you've got very good armor, you're probably not going to be able to survive this guy. But again, its slow movement speed does make it fairly easy to run away from. Just don't go back to that village for a while. Next is the Piglin Brute. They have 50 hit points, 25 hearts. In normal mode, they hit 13 hit points per hit, 6.5 hearts. That's very high. That's the third highest hitting mob in the game, full stop. While they are below Iron Golems, they also have very high movement speed, and they're always hostile. So that puts it way above the Iron Golem. With their increased movement speed and massive damage, you need to have some very good armor to be able to deal with them. They don't spawn very often, only really in bastions, so that's why they're not on the top of the list, but again, be very careful if you see one. Next is an honorable mention before we get into the strongest mob. I didn't want to put these into the main list just because they weren't quite strong enough, but in the right circumstances, they're still very strong. So first is the Ghast. It's fairly obvious. They've got a huge range advantage. They can fly. They do 6 hearts of damage per hit, although their accuracy isn't great. They've got huge knockback as well due to their attacks being explosions. And they're fairly easy to kill if you have a bow or are good at hitting back fireballs, but we've all been in a situation where we've been bridging over lava and they've just hit us into a fiery abyss. So again, probably not stronger than some of these mobs, but definitely worth a mention. It wouldn't be a list of Minecraft's strongest mobs if we didn't include the Creeper. This is probably the most infamous mob in Minecraft, created by Minecraft. They have 10 hearts of health and do 21.5 hearts of damage. That's huge, especially if you don't have armor. If they're near you, you're going to die. They do, however, have some drawbacks in that they have to stop moving when they attack. If you're not within a 3-block radius, it's going to do less damage to you, and they take 1.5 seconds to actually attack. They're very killable within that 1.5 seconds, but again, just because of the legacy behind the mob, it deserves to be on the list. And we've all been in a situation where we're mining in a cave, we turn around and there's just a creeper blowing up in our face. New players, beware, don't go near them. Now, for Minecraft's strongest mob. It is, of course, the zombie pigman. There's just no competition. With 10 hearts of health and 4 hearts of damage per hit, they're not the strongest mob in the world. But they do a fair amount of damage, and they do have a fair amount of health. They're going to take a couple of hits to kill, and they can do some serious damage to you if you're not careful. They've got fairly high movement speed, not as high as some of the other mobs, but again, it makes it quite hard to deal with. Of course, their main feature that makes them so deadly is the fact that they spawn in groups, and as soon as you hit one, they all start attacking you. It's not unreasonable to expect at least 6 zombie pigmen to be hitting you, all with 10 hearts of health, all doing 4 hearts of damage per hit, swarming you and trying to get at you. If you do hit a zombie pigman, you're just going to have to leave the nether for a while, unless you're stacked, at which point you're not really worried about mobs. Because you'll have a horde of zombie pigmen to attack you, the damage output is just next to nothing, and that's why they're in the top spot. This is just for a bit of fun, just my own opinion, and don't take it too seriously. But if you have any differing ideas, it would be quite interesting if you comment them below and explain why and that sort of thing. I don't know, it'd just be cool to get some different perspectives. We all play Minecraft in different ways, and because of that, I think the mobs can affect us in different ways as well. So it might affect which one you find hardest. Anyways, that's the end of the video. Zombie Pigman is the winner for me, but again, that's just my own opinion. If you enjoyed or found the video interesting, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one.